Next topic is who do you incentivize? You know, we've spoken about the culture and the nature of a salespeople, they're competitive. There is obviously a profitability question in terms of companies wanting to put back-end rebates into their, you know, seen as part of their margin and put it back into their business or to reinvest that. Different behaviors, different incentives. Laura, you described that really, really well in the question that we just covered. But I guess the question I will post, and I will start with you, Alli, and then Laura, Kenneth, please to comment as well, is who do you actually incentivize, right? Is it the company? Is it the individual? Is it a combination of both? How flexible are you in this, and what kind of factors would influence that?
Sure. So I would start out by saying for us, it's definitely a mix on who we incentivize, and then having kind of the programs mapped specifically to who we are incentivizing. I think it also depends, and important to note that some partners may choose to not allow their individual reps to claim on spiffs. So that's something to just be conscious of, I would say. But we run spiffs individually for sales reps, technical reps, based on specific actions. Kenneth mentioned earlier, certifications may be an example of one that we would incentivize a technical rep on. And it's really kind of mapped to specific activities that we're looking to incentivize. And then on the flip side of that, where we're paying to the company, assuming that they didn't elect the company payout in the spiff, is more of our rebates program are mapped to that direction. Like I mentioned, they can reinvest that back in their business. So I would say that what influences who we decide to incentivize is like what the specific KPI that we're trying to push is. Is it an overall company objective, or is it an individual contributor objective that we're trying to have them achieve? So for us, it's a mix, again, of company, individual, and both in some situations.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you spoke about the technical incentives as well, right? Playing a much bigger role in terms of the entire sales process. So extending the incentives beyond sales into those supportive functions, I think is really interesting. Laura, Kenneth, anything to add?
Yeah, I would say I'll echo what Alli says, but we do a little bit of everything. So we reward companies and let them be kind of the administrator of how they want to take the total and disperse it amongst their company, whether they want to reward everybody from marketing, sales, and technical support. Or we also do rewards where the individual contributor can also claim on those as well. And so we do a little bit of cash and or points, depending on what it is. Sometimes you might want to give webinar training and you might want to give points for those versus cash, and points equal cash, and you can buy from a catalog, or you can get gift cards and other things. So we what happened, this is going back in my head, I'm going to show my age, but I mean, years ago, there used to be, we would give rebates on the products to the distributors and they would equal X. And there was such a push to do individual contributors that at sometimes the salespeople were actually making more than the company. And so we saw everybody pull it back and put a hard stop on this. But as of late, we're starting to see where this is starting to come back around again. And with learning from, what happened before, now we're giving the flexibility to the company to decide how it best works for their business. And I think that's where you have to have the flexibility to offer a program and let them run it how best they want to run their salespeople, because at the end of the day, they are the employees of the company. And while we can help create those incentives, we do have to be respectful on how they choose to go to market with their own sales strategy. So we have to make sure that we're complementing it.
Yeah, very valid point.
Yeah, and I suppose, Margaret, just a couple of quick points to add to that. At the end of the day, it's a bit like that last question. Partners do expect to be rewarded for the end customer business they bring to vendors, and your incentives program, when done in the right way, it is actually a key differentiator that can create competitive advantage for you in the channel. Some of the, I suppose, other points I would add to that is, we talked a lot about, incentivizing the rebates to the partner entity. Probably a little bit trickier is what Laura was alluding to there, is around incentivizing the individual. Some companies will kind of push back and say, we don't want to do that. But, you know, we work with a lot of vendors. They generally get around that by saying, okay, you don't want us to spiff the individuals. Do you want to offer that spiff to you as a company? And then you draw it down and you decide how you distribute that between your staff. And I cannot think of one example globally where that was not accepted as something they want to do. So the reality is those companies do want to be incentivized. It's just for, you know, might be legal or local law reasons that you don't go at the individual level, but that still works really well in terms of they're now participating in your SPIF incentive program, but at a company level. So think about it. It sounds a little bit contradictory, a SPIF to an individual, but it's done to the company, but they get the opportunity to distribute that internally. One other point I'd kind of make is around, you know, is the payment cycle. Is the speed of payment is really important. So this kind of comes at the end of the reward, and this is, you know, both to individuals and companies. It's really important that vendors pay out timely. If you don't do it in a timely fashion, it actually loses its value a lot, because then think about, you're paying a spiff to an individual to take training, to register a deal, whatever it might be. If you don't pay them timely, they actually forget what you incent, and every day that goes by, it's diluted the value of giving them that reward. So if you want repetition and you want, you know, that muscle memory, let's call it, then you must pay out in a very timely fashion. And that's, again, you know, kind of where automation comes in, and we've seen that be very successful. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's very, very true. I think also for that competitive behavior driver, you know, they need to be able to see how they achieved, how they didn't achieve, and that gives them motivation for the next quarter or 6 months of the year, whatever the period is. And being respectful in terms of that partner business model, I think that's very, very important, is having that empathy in terms of how partners actually want to run these and manage their teams. So really great points there.